Bloop family. It's great to be here today. You are tuned into the Urban Soundscapes radio show here on Bloop London with me, Redfreya, and today a very special guest, Carina Lawrence. As usual, in a moment we'll be getting into a great chat with her about her career to date, and then a guest mix from her live from the studio, so stay locked. Hello, hello. So, as I said, I'm here live in the studio with Carina Lawrence.
Hello, good to be here.
We're so happy to have you here today. And Carina also has her own show here on Bloop. So, for any regular Bloop listeners, you may also have listened to Down Underground.
Yes.
Getting the name right, yeah?
Perfect.
And also a weekly resident here on Bloop. I'm really happy to have you here today as a guest. Not only an amazing DJ from, you've played all over the world. You've played, obviously, a lot in Australia, where you're from, and now the London scene, but also a really close friend of mine. So lovely to have you here today.
No, thank you. It's special to be here. I've always wanted to come on your show, so glad to tick that off.
I feel like we've been meaning to make it happen for ages, and then it's like, because you have a show and I have a show, it's like it's taken a little while, but
we are here.
We're here today, which is great. How are you doing today? Just quick question.
Yeah, good. I'm feeling a little stressed. I'm going to ADE tomorrow, so I feel like there's just a lot of things that I need to do. I'm a very last minute person. I could have all the time in the world, and of course everything is left till today, but that's all right.
But you're playing out there.
I'm playing on Thursday and Friday, so really excited. Playing on Thursday for Sakura, and Friday I'm playing for Modern Agenda alongside an all-female lineup, which I'm very excited about.
That's going to be amazing. And is this your first time playing ADE?
Yes, first time. First time going to ADE, first time playing at ADE. I have no idea what to expect.
I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it'll be amazing.
Hectic, but really good. Well, huge congrats on that. Huge congrats on 2 gigs out there.
Thank you.
So as we usually do with the show, first of all, I want to kick things off with giving you the chance to kind of introduce yourself to listeners, anyone who doesn't know who you are, and then we'll dive into a bit of your journey, of your career so far. So, who is Carina Lawrence, and a little bit about your sound as an artist as well.
So obviously I've been DJing for about 12 years. I'm from Australia, if you can't hear my very Aussie accent. Moved to London a couple of years ago, and just been immersing myself in the scene here. I guess my sound is a mix of Afro, melodic, deep, groove. Honestly, I really hate boxing myself into genres, and I will play whatever fits. I guess you could say maybe around that. I've been playing here for a few years with Parable, Free From Sleep, and a few other awesome event companies, and Bloop resident as well. And the plan is to hang around here for as long as I can. Until I get kicked out of the country.
Here being London, or here being Bloop, no.
Well, no, in London, yeah. Oh, Bloop as well, yeah. I want to be a part of the furniture here as well, so.
And I think it will be really amazing to dive into like how your journey's been. Actually, like obviously you founded your career out in Australia. You're from Melbourne, and you sent me a bit about your background, and you really built this like amazing career out there over a decade of playing a lot of different shows, and then you made this huge move, basically all the way across the world. Yeah. And you had to start again from scratch, like because obviously like Europe is closer to the UK, or like it's all kind of more connected. But coming from Australia, it's not very easy. How's that been overall for you the past 2 years?
Well, yeah, it was tough. I mean, when I first moved here, I knew nobody. I got introduced to you by a mutual friend. And she actually also introduced me to Richie Hayden, who runs Arrival Records. And then I guess from there, I literally sent messages out and asked to be on people's, mix series and podcasts and this and that. And most of the time I didn't hear anything back. So it was really tough. I mean, not DJing at all, being away from family and friends, and basically, having to start all over again. And I also moved in October, so it's now October and it's getting cold.
Literally the worst
getting
time
dark
for like an Australian person.
No, it's horrible.
Who's used to like warm weather to come to the UK.
I know, it was really, it was tough. And for me, it's not even the cold weather, it's just the darkness. But so I guess it took a few months sort of to make some contacts. But my first gig here in London was at Bloop. Richie invited me to play on his show. And I feel like from there, things sort of started to snowball. I got my own show here. I remember you recommended me to do that, which was an amazing thing. So thank you,
Blue fam. we love it here. And also shout out to Richie, because he's
yes.
also like the best guy ever. And like in the early stages of my career was like just super. I mean, he still is really supportive. He's like, we love you, Richie, and you're great.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute legend. I know I've told him a million times, but I really do owe a lot of where I am today to him.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very grateful. So thank you.
And
Richie.
I hope that you also like look back at how it's been for you the past couple of years and have like a feeling of like it's been like maybe really rewarding, because
for sure.
if we look at what you've achieved, actually kind of like you hit the ground running, you came here, you had no contacts, and now you've literally played at like the closing party of Printworks. You've done like you've played like every big club in the city. You literally was like 2 weeks ago, last week you were supporting Nick Warren, like opening for him. You know, I think it's like it's a really big achievement, so you should be really proud.
No, for sure. And I put up a post a couple of weeks ago, because I said, like, as artists, we don't really stop. We're always looking for the next gig. We're always looking for what we can do to better ourselves, and we don't really take time to appreciate what we have achieved. And I think it was my 2-year anniversary, I guess, in London. Mm-hmm. So that day, I really did just kind of take a breath, stop, and be like, okay, wow. It's been great. And I've loved it so much. And having these opportunities only makes me want more. So, fingers crossed we can keep it going. Yeah,
I mean, if we look at what you've achieved over the past 2 years, like what you're going to achieve in the next 2 years, I think it's definitely an upward trajectory.
For sure.
And then, let's talk about how you first got into kind of being a musician, being a DJ in the first place. I mean, so we spoke about your background before we were on air, and you've been really interested in jazz since you were a child. Tell me a bit more about how you got into your love of music when you were a kid in the first place.
So, when I was a lot younger, my grandfather, he would always play, jazz records on his vinyl player, and he would go there for dinner, and I'd just listen, and I absolutely loved the music. Whenever he drove me around in his car on the radio, he'd put jazz on. And then when it came to choosing an instrument to play at school, I wanted to play something that I could play jazz music with. And I mean, I kind of regret choosing the clarinet now, but like if I had my time again, maybe I would have chosen the sax or something, or maybe the trumpet even, so I could potentially incorporate it a bit easier with DJing and making music. Mm-hmm. But I learned the clarinet for 7 years, and I mean, I fell in love with music at school, and I had some amazing opportunities there, playing in the band, and also we went around the country playing at various shows. And and then after that I went and learnt the guitar because I was a bit bored of the clarinet. And I guess music's kind of always been a part of my life. And it wasn't until I started going out and clubbing at 17. I was a bit illegal. I did have a fake ID, but not for long. I was a baby in the year though, so I kind of had a few months where I had to use that fake ID. And I went to clubs, and that's when I first got my taste of electronic music. Back then, I feel like the EDM scene was quite big.
Yeah, I'm really curious actually. So obviously, this is also in Melbourne?
Yeah, this is in Melbourne, yeah.
Because I'm curious, like, what kind of music was big there, especially electronic music in the clubs. Yeah, what were you getting exposed to?
Mainly like, EDM, electronic music. I remember, Alesso came down to one of the clubs, which was like a huge deal. Wasn't such a big club, but Alesso was playing. Yeah. And then we'd go to a lot of the festivals there, which brought in big EDM artists. At the time, Calvin Harris, Tiesto, Hardwell, all of those artists. So I guess I fell in love with EDM when I first started. And then as a DJ, when I first started as a DJ, I really, I loved playing EDM because that's sort of what I was listening to. But when I got gigs at some of the clubs there, I didn't really get the main room gigs when I first started, so I had to play R&B, which probably explains why every time someone requests R&B now, I'm like, nope. Go away.
Not going to happen. But I think actually if you're playing a lot of different styles of music as a DJ, it's definitely good for you.
For sure.
Especially at the start. Like just throw everything at you and then your mixing technique gets much stronger. It's harder to mix between different types of genres, different types of beats as well. So...
No, 100%. And I think over the past 10 to 12 years of playing, my taste has changed dramatically. I went through a phase of playing a lot more disco, house, tech house, and then obviously moving across to more of the underground sort of sounds and melodic sounds. So I actually, pride myself on being able to traverse the genres. And yeah, I think being in the scene for that long and being forced to play maybe genres you don't always love, I think helps you in the long run.
No, for sure. And then you're just so diverse, and then you can just adapt to any situation, which I think is actually the number one skill of a DJ. You know, it's the dance between what is your aesthetic taste in your sound versus fitting the room and the crowd. Because if everybody hates the stuff that you're playing, you have to adapt. You can't empty the dance floor.
No, 100%. You have to change, and I think it's important.
And then so you had this really big moment where you won like a DJ competition,
and
they flew you to Mykonos from Australia. Is that right? Like that's really far. That's like me getting flown to Bali or something.
Yeah,
from
it
London.
is. No, legit.
Yeah, so
similar distance.
How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was great. You know, I'd only been playing for a few years, mainly at like 21st and 18th, and did a couple of 60th as well, which was quite interesting. And then I saw this DJ competition, and I decided to enter. Eventually I got down to there's like a final 72, and then there's a weekend where they have all of the contestants play a 30-minute mix, and you have to kind of like pack in as much as possible in that mix, show your ability to mix, like get the crowd going, everything. So I mean, I played on, I think it was like the Saturday. I invited as many friends as I could. I think there was like 50 friends that came. I was like, just come, bring friends, whatever. And I played like the third last set of the night, and it was just such a vibe. Don't even remember because it just went so quickly. I mean, 30 minutes is like nothing. But I'd practice my set to like literally the T, like the second that I would change things.
Love that.
And ended up winning, which was an amazing feeling. I can't really describe it. And then from there, the prize was to play at Paradise Club Mykonos. So I went there for like the closing weeks of Paradise Club, and played there. And they also gave you a prize of playing at Stereo Sonic, which was like one of the biggest EDM festivals in Australia at the time. So I played there as well. And they also gave you decks.
That's amazing. Like kickstart, like off you go.
I cried. So I when I first started DJing, I bought CDJ 200s. So like very, very old school. And then they actually broke, not even joking, they broke the week leading up to the event, to the competition.
No.
So I was like, this is awful. This is the end of me. Anyway, eventually, obviously I won, and then they sent me these CDJ 900 decks, which at the time were like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at these now, like we've got V10s and 3000s staring at us, but And I actually cried when they delivered that over to my place. So that's beautiful. It was amazing.
Yeah. And then obviously I think we spoke about how then you went through this kind of you had this experience, and then you were like, whoa, actually being a professional DJ is like a lot of work to kind of stay at this level. And you had like a little bit of like ups and downs in your journey, and then obviously you come to London, and we kind of talked a bit about that. But I really wanted to ask you, you started DJing at a time when there were way less female icons. I started DJing probably like 5-6 years ago. So you're like, maybe like 5 years behind me on that. And when I started, I felt like there was not that much around compared to now. Like now there's so many women, and it's great. It's beautiful. Lineups are way more diverse. A lot of big female talent. But how was your experience kind of, obviously it's great that you won this competition, but like, did you feel ever that you were a bit like the odd one out, or that you were kind of just you as the only woman around, or just, how was your experience being a woman doing it?
Well, exactly. As you said, you know, there weren't as many female DJs as there are now. Like, I mean, there's so many at the moment. But back then, there weren't a lot. And I guess, like, when I first started DJing, I played with a friend. So I did have, like, the support of her for the first 6 months. But, in the scene in Melbourne especially, there weren't that many. And I did feel like it was, you know, sometimes a little bit of a boys' club. And, you know, they'd kind of look after their friends first. And if there were sets or someone couldn't play, like, they'd book you kind of thing. And, it was tough. But at the same time, I knew that, like, eventually I would get my chance. And I kept saying, like, all I need is one chance. Like, all I need is one chance just to prove that I can be as good as the guys. And, eventually I did get that chance. And, I think that I don't think it was intentional, you know, like, oh, we can't book females. But I don't think it was in their thought, you know, at the time to book females. It's not like they were like, oh no, we don't want.
But there just are a lot of promoters making easy choices, right?
Exactly.
Like they know some guy who's really big or whatever, versus like it is harder to kind of get into the scene at that time.
100%. But if you're once you're in and you kind of gain that trust and respect, then, you know, since then, I mean, they've been amazing in the Melbourne scene and even here. I mean, I haven't felt it all really. You know, like the only female and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, it was hard because I didn't have a lot of female DJs or artists to look up to at the time. So I only had like, I don't know, a couple, I'd say. And then one of them was really big for me, and she's still one of my favorite producers and DJs, was Nora on Pure. I remember seeing her play for the first time in Melbourne at a really small club, and she wasn't even that big yet. I don't even think her track Come With Me had come out. And I was like, whoa. And I remember from then, like I'd already been playing for a few years, but I remember after seeing her at that show, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. So
wow,
thanks, Nora.
Female icon right there. And yeah, I think it's like quite inspiring also, just even that you took the leap to learn to DJ in the first place, you know, because it's like kind of like once you're already on the journey and you know that this is what you want to do, you learn the basic skills, it's kind of easier to fuel yourself. But it's like kind of when you're on the sidelines and you're like, should I join that group? Like,
for sure.
Was there ever a question to you of whether you should learn to DJ, or you were just like, I love this music, I want to do this, I'm gonna do it, I don't care that it's like, you know, mostly guys doing it at the time?
Well, look, I'm going to be honest, and if my best friend is listening, which she definitely isn't because she'll be sleeping at the moment, but it was her idea to get into DJing. And so like, she kind of threw this on me. And I was like, what? I have no idea how to DJ. Like, what do we even, like, where do we start, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I think once I started and learnt what to do, lots of YouTube videos and a few friends showing me, I just became obsessed because obviously I grew up, you know, playing music. Whereas I think she liked the idea of it more than actually doing it. So that's why we ended things after 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, because actually, you know, if you want to be DJing, it's a lot of collecting music. It's kind of a lot of nerdy stuff, actually. It is. Like, it's like,
I mean, it's a full-time job. You have to stay on top of things. And if you don't, you can easily fall behind quickly. So I have to kind of thank her.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, for sure. Like, definitely. What's her name?
Tony.
Well, let's give her a shout
Thanks,
out.
Tone.
Hopefully she checks out the show. And okay, so I want to get into some music in a minute, but I just want to talk about, like, obviously music production, which is something that you've now started. Well, you were learning in the pandemic, is that right? I started with Kim, my husband, my other half. We started during the pandemic together, and we've made a couple of tracks, released one. But I think the next 6 months for me, I've got a big aim of maybe making 3 to 5 of my own tracks. Yeah. And fingers crossed they get released eventually. And how has the experience been overall? Like, I mean, I'm learning production at the moment as well. Like, it's definitely, like, it does take a lot of hours. Like, it's definitely it's not as quick to pick up as DJing, for sure.
No, it's another language. It really is. And you really need to, like, constantly be at it. And I'm going to put my hand up and say I'm not constantly at it at the moment. So need to make time for it. And that's also a goal of mine, is to make time, keep DJing, obviously, maybe take a few less gigs here and there just so that I can focus a bit more on the production side. I'm going to get some lessons, hopefully in November, once I'm back from Australia, and just really hone in on that because I've been neglecting it a bit too much. I use Logic as well, and I find that no one in London uses Logic.
Yeah, I feel like Europe in general is very Ableton-centric. Yes, everyone loves Ableton here.
Even in Melbourne. So I do feel, I have been struggling to find someone to give me some lessons, but I think I may have eventually found someone. So we'll see what happens. But that's my aim. And it's crazy because I can hear exactly what I want to do when I'm, you know, I can't actually just do it.
I think the thing we have to remember is that it just really takes a long time to develop the skills in the tools to, like, make what you can hear in your head, you know?
For sure.
I think it's like giving ourselves that grace of the time, because I think the music industry feels like a very instantaneous place, and it's so caught up in social media as well, of like, it just makes everything super fast paced.
100%.
And then it feels like you should be able to sit down and 6 months later release a track, sounds great. No, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a learning.
Long journey.
And a lot of the producers that we love and admire have been doing it for a decade or longer.
Yeah.
So it's like that thing of not comparing, like don't compare your halfway or like your learning journey to someone's, 10 years.
No, for sure. But I also just wish that, I kind of started 10 years ago,
Yeah,
there's a bit of catch up now.
I'm the same. I'm always like, I wish I started before, and then I'm like not spending enough time now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, okay. Well, we probably only have time for one more thing to cover. Is there anything that you specifically would like to discuss? I think we spoke a bit about like mental health. Is there anything on this?
I think that that and performance anxiety, because I know we've had some conversations.
Yeah,
I like message you the day of or the day before some gigs. I'm like, Freya, I don't know.
And vice versa.
I'm like, can't handle this. I'm too nervous.
I'm just not gonna go to the show. Like, and it's so funny because it's like, it's usually for me at least, like as soon as you get into the booth, you just have to get into the booth. Like when you're in the booth, you can feel a little bit nervous sometimes, but you're mostly fine. It's the bit before you get into the booth. It's like when I go to the club and I see a line of people outside, I'm like, do I have to go? I'm
even that day for me, like Kim says I go crazy on gig day. He's like, just not normal. And I don't know. It feels like every single gig I have is the first gig I've ever played.
Yeah.
But then once you start, you play that first couple of tracks and you just ease into it, then you're all good. But I just wish that anxiety would maybe go away sometimes, and I could just walk into a gig and,
Yeah, I think you've had like a few though that I think we spoke about it, where you've said you've had a few though that was just like flowing so much. And something I find strange, I don't know if you can relate to this, but like I find that sometimes I've had gigs, really small gigs, like it's like 100 people in the room, it's really tiny, it's not a big deal. And I've been so nervous. Yeah. And I'm like micro-analyzing every track that I'm choosing and every transition. And the transition goes a tiny bit out of time. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to leave. Everyone's going to hate what I'm doing, whatever. And then I've had other gigs, like really, really big gigs to like, I don't know, 1,000 people that was like really, I thought it's going to be really stressful. And then I just was like so relaxed. Yeah. And there's no logic to it.
No logic at all. And you're right. I mean, some gigs I don't even think about, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of the gigs I've had in London, maybe I've been a bit more nervous than usual. I don't know if that's just because everything's a bit more of a new experience for me being here. But yeah, I don't know.
But I think,
deep breaths.
I think there's a lot of ways to deal with being anxious and stuff. And I think it's nice to at least like talk about it here openly and say, we're both professional performers. We go on stage literally to play music for a living in front of people. We love what we're doing, but it is sometimes quite anxiety provoking. And I think, if there's anyone who listens to this show who is like an upcoming artist who deals with nerves and stress and stuff, it's important to not let that necessarily stand in your way, because something else I found, I don't know if you found this, but I found like the more I'm doing it, the easier it gets for sure. Yeah. Like I remember the first time I ever played in like a small bar, and I literally was like, again, like super nervous. It was a huge deal to me. I'd like organized all my playlists and tagged all my tracks super clearly and stuff. And now if I was playing in like a small bar, I like would show up, it's like super easy and normal. And it's like the bigger gigs are the more stressful ones. And I think that gets to a point when you do enough of the bigger gigs that those become
the small bar gigs.
Yeah, much more relaxing. Although one thing I can just never get used to, I don't know when this is going to happen, is the fact that when you play a really big nightclub, it's so difficult to hear in the booth.
Yes. Oh, I had that a couple of weeks ago.
Was that in the Steel Yard?
Yeah, the Steel Yard. Yeah. It was so hard.
That specifically. I think we spoke about that before, and I was like, oh my God, I can't hear in that place because the bass under the stage, it's just super, super loud. So mixing and selecting tracks in a big nightclub can be really challenging.
Definitely. But I guess I don't know. Once you start, you sort of get used to the booth. That's also another thing. When you go to a new booth, a new DJ decks or whatever, and you have to get used to the sound because they all sound quite different. So yeah.
And figure out like what's broken.
Well, yes, exactly.
And when it's a zone mixer and it's like the filter doesn't work and like this button doesn't work.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, well, I think the important message is like it's okay to be nervous about things, but it's important just to kind of do your best to keep going.
Exactly.
Lean on
and
your
no
friends.
one's perfect.
And also just remember, like, another thing, I think we spoke about this before, is like it's not a test, it's not an exam, it's not like how good of a DJ are you. It's literally more of like are you creating a nice energy in the room? It's like a service, It's thinking about like what you're offering to the people. Totally. And when like either of us as dancers on the dance floor in the crowd, the main thing that you're thinking about is like, is the music good? Yeah. Not like it's more about track selection 100%. Than anything else. I'd rather see a DJ play amazing music and train wreck every transition than the other way.
Totally, I agree with you. 100%.
But all right, okay, we've spoken for ages, so
yeah,
let's jump
should play
into
some
some music now. We've got about another half an hour left. So yeah, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks, Carina, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely go and check her out on SoundCloud. You find her Instagram, you find everything. You can find it all on my Instagram after the show, which is at Redfreya DJ, and you'll find all her details there. We'll put the tracks up as well. Get a look for the next half hour, guys.
Think of you yourself.